Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Quite stylish. And maybe I seem a bit confused.
We're back with even more Boob Tube Boys. We promised you last week we would be. We weren't going to leave you guys hanging. We're going to do more Frasier, and it's going to be the same three people. I'm Spencer Hendricks hosting. I've got Van Lee with me. Hi, Van.
You accursed mountebank.
Is that your Frasier Crane?
That's my Frasier insult. Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess now I'm going to introduce Brian Vaughn. He needs to do the Niles Crane impersonation.
Oh dear, I think I've had enough of you two gentlemen.
I did hear.
That's if Niles were Alan Rickman.
Harry Potter, Harry Potter, I do not approve of the painting you've hung upon your wall at Hogwarts.
I get the sense you're going for. It wasn't too far off. I think you get it.
Well, one of the problems is that
I
I'm not good at impressions.
you have a few that you can nail, though.
I have a few that I can nail in a sense of, like, there's some charm to the impression.
Sure.
It's not accurate.
I still say in a couple more tries you would have gotten that in a lot.
I'll get it one day, Bruce Willis. You seem to be crawling around in broken glass while Carl Winslow gives you directions.
Niles is a bit like this, where he's kind of matter-of-fact or perfunctory with the way he talks, and he'll go, well, Frasier, what I believe it was, and it's that sort of thing.
That's better, yeah.
I find Niles to be a little bit more like this. Frasier, what are we going to do this week?
Frasier's Meatwad.
Meatwad, Frasier, yeah.
I'd watch that, though, I think.
Sure, it'd be more fun than
I don't
Frasier.
know what it would be, except for maybe today. Although, I mean, we'll get a little bit more into that. But I was Frasier hard in this episode more than the last episode.
Oh, it's a lot better, right?
It's a good one, yeah.
I had fun watching it. Just full stop.
Yeah.
I don't even need to give a caveat.
And we can get right into it because we covered the basics last week's show. So this is season 5, episode 14, The Ski Lodge, where Frasier, Niles, and Marty join Daphne and her friend at a holiday ski resort. That's pretty much it, but it doesn't talk about what happens at this holiday ski resort at all, because it makes you think, like, I was picturing they were actually going to be doing some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Ski resort thing.
I was thinking that, or at least more than just a one night that was almost like a whodunit sort of thing, except like a who fucked them sort of situation. It ended up being like that. You know, they have the conjoining rooms. I really felt like it was an Agatha Christie novel, except with sex.
I loved that whole dynamic. But I going in though, when the ski resort tickets are revealed, having watched the other Frasier episode and not any other Frasier episodes at all in the last probably decade, I really thought this would be, you go to the ski resort and the joke is that they're all intellectuals who fall down or something.
Mm-hmm. It was not that.
It wasn't that at all. It wasn't even kind of what the episode sets up, which is fantastic.
See, now what I like is how Columbo really kind of switched it on its head. And instead, in Columbo, you know who fucked who. You're just trying to find out how they fucked that person.
It's a how done
Columbo
it.
finds them. How fuck it.
Now we've really invented some interesting genres here.
Man, we're going to have to someday teach some sort of, like, I don't know, English literature class together.
Yeah, at least some seminars.
Boob Tube 305.
So this one starts at the radio station. It's, we get a little bit of a change of pace. We saw it briefly in the last episode with that dreaded focus group, but this time we're opening here, and then we will be leaving it forever after this. It opens with Frasier and Roz. They just finished up a show. Frasier's pretty pleased with it. Roz is already moving on to something she wants to bitch about, which is someone named Connie who always makes her buy stuff from her.
And one thing about Connie is her hair could have existed
She's a 90s woman.
anytime between 1985 and 1995, but not after.
That's true. Yeah, it does look 90s to me, that's for sure. And Connie fits in perfectly for that time period. And she does seem to be making a beeline for Roz. I guess Roz is always buying Girl Scout cookies and stuff from her, so she's kind of tired of her. Frasier says, look, Roz, just get it over with. Stop trying to be nice.
Yeah, and Roz uses that as fuel.
Roz tells her off, but really all Connie wants to do is give her something from the church. It's a grand prize that Roz has won.
In one of those charity raffles that she was complaining about.
Oh, the irony.
Do you guys feel bad when you get mad at somebody and they weren't actually going to do the thing that you were mad about?
I feel bad when I get mad at anyone. If it's deserved, I'll be like, oh, I felt bad that I did that, but I'm glad I did it. Whereas it will be the other way. If they don't deserve it, I'll be like, I felt bad I did that. I'm mad I did it.
And mine are really funny because I never do anything. No one even knows I'm mad sometimes. And I will feel bad that I was angry internally. Later, I'll be like, oh man, I really shouldn't have felt that negatively toward this person who said they liked Big Bang Theory. For some reason, I'm mentioning that every episode now.
I guess Roz is just not as nice as you guys because she doesn't give a shit, really. Like,
No, I
Connie
like
walks
that
off
about
and
Roz.
she's like, oh, well, I want to see what I won. And it's a pretty fucking cool thing. She won it's a rental. They word it weird because I wanted to say it was just, you know, that you get to go to a ski lodge, but it's like, let's see, a free weekend rental at a ski lodge. Yeah, so they don't specify people or anything, but
well, they do mention that it's like with an Olympic trainer or something.
Yeah, you get an instructor. So it's a big deal. It's a fancy place. It's a getaway. And at this point, Frasier uses everything he's learned in psychology to make Roz give him that grand prize. And it does work. I guess Roz doesn't really want to go. Plus, he bribes her with a big screen TV.
I think she's pregnant here, too.
Is she?
Because she's a little bigger, but that was like, you can't ski, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't drink. So I think the implication there is that she was pregnant.
I did not think of that, but I guarantee that's right.
I don't remember Roz doing that, but you could be totally right. I don't know.
Or she's in a 12-stepper. I don't know.
Well, let me point this out, too, with Roz, because she's done after this. I think this show is just too mean to her. It pokes fun at their own characters often, but there's never a nice thing about Roz. They pull the slut angle a lot,
which is weird because I like Roz.
Roz is one of my favorite characters in the show because she takes Frasier down a peg. But constantly, I watched like a compilation of Niles' best bits because it came on. I didn't mean to watch that.
There's a lot of people in this episode who want to hold to Niles' best bits too.
But
you know what I mean?
But the whole thing basically boils down to Roz is a slut and let's make fun of her for it. And it's too much. So I think this show's a little mean to Roz, and Frasier did something mean here. I don't remember what it was.
Well, it's Frasier. I also have to assume that in 1995, that big screen TVs didn't cost like $170.
No, it must have been a pretty big purchase. So he might have paid face value for a ticket. Who knows?
Ross, what if I give you this 405-pound CRT TV I have?
That will not last more than 3 months.
It's got a wood around the edges that makes it worth more. I'm from Boston.
I'm going to go be an X-Men.
I mean, he doesn't really seem like that, like he's from anywhere with his, like maybe a different planet of some
Niles. Sort. This is how Neptunians speak.
Exactly. Yeah, it just doesn't. Wasn't he blue in a movie? Wasn't he like a beast?
X-Men, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he could be from wherever the beast is from.
And something about Frasier Crane's head, which is of course Kelsey Grammer's head.
Bulbous.
It is enormous and like
head.
an interesting shape too.
Yeah.
And I think that made him an ideal beast because when I saw him as Beast, I was like, if Kelsey Grammer told me he could like, I don't know, headbutt Magneto to death, I would believe it.
Like, oh yeah, no, I get it.
There might be horns coming out of the thing at any minute. So we've got the trade successfully done. Roz isn't going skiing. Frasier is. He comes back to his apartment to share the good news with everyone who's always there. I've noticed that Frasier's always the last person to enter his home. It's always Marty. Niles is there too. I don't think Niles actually does a practice at all. I don't think he.
No, and Marty does not leave the chair there.
No, and I don't blame him. I'd probably do the same. He just sits by his lovable, loyal friend Eddie and just kind of relaxes the day away. He's got Daphne to wait in him. I wouldn't get up.
Sounds
that much
pretty
either.
cool
Yeah.
to me.
Well, plus he's got the gimp leg. Was he shot? Does anyone know
I forget what it was? Yeah, it's.
We have to assume Vietnam, kind of an Uncle Si type situation. We have to also assume that Marty can make any kind of food out of like Vienna sausages and refuse.
Close. He mentioned that cheese ball or the meatball thing that last.
with
episode
cheese
or whatever.
injected,
Yeah,
which is awesome.
I do think it was he was shot because he was a cop. And
Yeah,
that's
he was
why
a
he had
cop.
to quit being a cop.
I think so. Because I don't think he wanted to retire. I think he was forced into it, and that's why he's a little cranky.
And he got shot by Berkowitz or something.
So we jump to Frasier's apartment, where he comes to give everyone this great news about the ski lodge. Marty's watching TV at deafening volumes. Daphne's carrying around a laundry basket while Eddie chills on the couch, and in comes Niles shouting on the phone. He's unhappy with his divorce lawyer. Something about, wanting something done that wasn't done by a lawyer. I couldn't really get the specifics on that, but it's some mad divorce thing that it's the window into Niles' conflict, his continuing marriage conflict. So
I'll tell you what it is. He wrote a Valentine when they first started dating.
And they made
said,
the prenup.
Yeah, it's something like, everything that is mine is yours forever, or something along those lines. And they're like, well, that means that you own everything Niles
I don't think that would hold up at court at all, but...
Don't think so.
The idea is that Niles is getting screwed over.
And it's because lawyer's bad.
Yeah, that's got to be why.
Psychiatrist good, lawyers bad.
Yes.
So this is when Frasier enters to give everyone the good news. Everyone is really happy about this. I mean, you would think that it'd be kind of hard to convert an entire room of people to do a huge weekend plan with you.
Yeah, especially something that's very physically involved and out of town.
And it's presumably coming up like right away.
Yeah.
And they're all like, yeah, fuck, I'm not doing anything.
Sure.
Let's go to wherever this thing is.
I was pretty surprised Frasier, even in the beginning, was like, holy fucking shit, seriously, skiing? I need these tickets.
Yeah,
He doesn't seem like a ski-man.
When he tells Ross, like, I think I'll just stay home by the fire and get a sifter and read a book, it's like that's what you would do.
Snifter.
Whatever it
and
is.
I would like to say that the second he said that word, I, for some reason, felt my blood boil.
Yeah.
There are episodes where the brothers drink their fancy like sherry and stuff.
Oh,
in
I
glasses like
guarantee it.
that. Like quite a few. Did you know they're snobs?
And they pour like exactly
wasn't aware.
one finger in there, and then they just sip it and like, notes of, for me, I'd be like, it's time to get fucked up, guys.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that. They don't, I don't think they ever.
No, they're already naturally fucked up. You can tell because while they can help others, they just can't help themselves.
So true. The main premise of the show. So again, everyone's really in on this plan except for Daphne because she has to spend the weekend with her friend. It's her friend's birthday. And,
Happy birthday, Annie.
and she just won't be able to make it even though she wants to. Well, Niles doesn't want to let that go because he's got to have Daphne come along with him. So he says, you know what? Just bring Annie along. It's not his trip to commandeer, and Frasier's pretty pissed off. Frasier's mad about it until Daphne comes back in the room and says that Annie can go because she just got the money from her latest swimsuit calendar edition.
And Frasier being a vapid piece of shit.
Yeah.
Who all he cares about is
Now
love.
he's in. He's totally in on this.
And Daphne also stokes the flames of Niles' heart further by mentioning being cozy by a roaring fire, just as Frasier did again. It's like the Roosevelt thing from the last episode. They just repeat the same line 5 minutes later for some reason.
And maybe they just had like a bunch of people that put the same imagery and they didn't double check to make sure it wasn't done again. Or maybe it was just one person that really likes fires.
And snifters. And the fires have to roar.
And you mentioned Marty having trouble hearing. He has a cold, and that is a catalyst.
I
the entire
mentioned he's
episode.
watching the TV,
Yeah.
deafening volume.
That's it.
And yes, it's that you don't realize it. That's fine that they planted that in there. There's always the MacGuffin or whatever, when you have to have something that explains why something happens the rest of the way. And in this case, Marty's hearing is the big thing. He says,
And I missed that it was a cold too, and I thought he was being like, I don't know, every old man that's been in my bloodline where they're like, I can hear fine, and they can't hear anything you're saying whatsoever. But then they're like, no, I don't need a hearing aid. That would mean I was old. And they're 87 anyway.
But Ben pointed out, yes, this is a huge plot point. He is going through a cold and he says his ears are clogged up and it'll get better, but for now, whatever. So that sets the scene for a trip. And the next scene is in the ski lodge, and that's where we will conclude the rest of the episode.
Yeah,
here,
and I
is
thought
at the
again,
ski
this
lodge.
was just we get there and then we see little pratfalls on the slopes. But nope, we are in the ski lodge. For better or for worse? For better.
Yeah, we've got basically 3 sets here in the ski lodge. There's the living room, the kitchen, and then the bedrooms later on. So that's all we see, and we're just jumping back and forth here for the rest of the way. But things are not going to go how you would think in this sort of episode, and that happens pretty much right away. Everyone's excited to arrive, even Marty, although he does wonder where the TV is. Niles thinks that Annie is stupid, although Frasier is really already smitten by her. That was established on the way up. But Niles confronts him, don't you think she's a little stupid? And does say that word. He doesn't hold back at all.
Real classy guy, that Niles.
Yeah. And Marty's real into it. He leaves the room to make everyone some hot buttered rum, which
Yum. I love my
would
booze
try
hot.
it. I would try it.
I do really like butter rum lifesaver candy, so it's possible I would like that.
That's true. Yeah.
This is another thing where the gender things happen. The girls pick out their rooms while the boys bring their luggage, the girls' luggage to the rooms for them. Now, granted, in this case, this is by design. Frasier and Niles are already making their plans for their weekend tomfoolery.
Their predatory plans.
Yeah, I swear to God, when they were running out of the room with the respective girls' belongings, they each had raging boners.
There's no way they did. Probably poking out from the robes they're wearing the entire episode in front of everyone.
The Crane brother boners.
Why is Kelsey Grammer so comfortable with his body?
Oh, he's just,
Why
he's
would you not be? The
I mean-
man is built like a pile of meat.
like a beast.
He's fine. He's not fat by any stretch.
No, he's not
just
fat.
He's just a guy, but he is sure ready to just put that thing out there whenever he can. Because in not just in these 2 episodes. I have vivid memories of just episodes of Frasier where he's just shirtless and just out.
Yeah, it's a real
and
Ford Taurus of a body. Like
it gets you where you're going. Maybe not flashily.
I think
but
he's relying on his other perks, and it's giving him some confidence.
You mean
and...
the worst pickup lines I've ever heard in my life, and I've never even attempted to deliver one. But a phrase that is modern, I guess. We're recording this in the year 2021. Anyway, the phrase cringeworthy gets thrown around a lot, and I hate that phrase. I hate, like, oh, that's so cringe, like any use of that word at all. But I mean, that's the physical reaction my body was having to Frasier being like, hey, I'd like to elevate your plane, or whatever he was saying.
And he does it with that
Just
faux seductiveness that's obvious from 10 miles away, and it's gross.
Yeah, and
Oof.
again, like, it kind of points out how perfect for the character of Frasier Crane that Kelsey Grammer is, because he nails Frasier just being insufferable and full of himself in this episode, just full, and he has egg on his face by the end, and it's great. He doesn't have Annie on his face.
Almost did. For some reason, he had to put that in there. Anyway.
Yeah, at this point with the guys leaving the room, that sets the stage for the girl talk, where Annie immediately confesses her attraction to Niles, to Daphne. He's such a cutie, she says. This is right away. She can't wait. So Daphne says, you know, he's a little down from his divorce, and Annie says, well, I'm going to have to just find a way to cheer him up, aren't I? So this is pretty direct. This is like she's staking her claim right away. Daphne doesn't like that. She says, this is not a good idea. You are not the most trustworthy person with men, and he's sensitive and
newly single.
And you might hurt him. I don't want him starting with you.
Let me ask this, too. So at this point, you said on last episode, I believe, Spencer, that Niles and Daphne getting together happens rather quickly after this. So is Daphne partly doing this because she does have feelings for Niles, or is it strictly
Could be it.
You're a slut and you're gonna hurt him?
The episode actually toes that line pretty well.
Yeah,
you don't know how Daphne feels about Niles.
Daphne seems to believe it, but maybe it comes to a point in a couple episodes later where she's like, oh, I do like him. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't even remember that they did get together so soon. I just Googled it, and that's what it said. So yeah, she seems sincere, though, that she's just trying to protect him here. And they've got this, they're still hashing this out. But at this point, the instructor enters, and this is Guy, the Frenchman. He's a great skier. He's a great chef. He does all sorts of things. Yeah,
Daphne wants some Guy.
Yeah, and that's where Daphne gets cut off mid-sentence. She's trying to tell Annie, hey, this weekend doesn't have to be about sex. And then Guy walks in, and now it does. Now it's all about sex. This is something that kind of bothered me when I was watching it, because everyone's introducing themselves to the Frenchman, right? And Niles has to impress him with how he speaks French. And we get this whole interaction.
Oh, everyone, did you meet Guy, our ski instructor?
Hello, Guy. I will also be your chef tonight, entrecôte à la Guy.
Ouais, ski championnat gourmet. Vous êtes formidable.
Parlez français?
Ah oui, j'ai habité 6 mois à Paris quand j'étais étudiant.
Speak very well.
Oui.
Oh, you speak French as well?
No, all I know how to say is oui.
Well, that should be enough to get you through the weekend.
You fucking
Just,
creep.
again, Frasier thinks this is both in the bag and that he is George Clooney.
After all this happens, and if you didn't already know that the hots are developing for certain people here, Marty innocently points out the two deer nuzzling outside and says, well, he just leaves it at that. Marty's being really innocent. He's just saying, oh, look at those two deers. That's sweet. Frasier says, makes a man think, starts to get this idea of...
in front of everyone.
Yeah, out loud.
Yeah, he's talking to Annie, but in a full room.
And then everyone out loud agrees. And then they're looking at each other, which is clearly not lining up with who the other person wants. And that's when you start to kind of get a sense this is going to be a little bit of a weekend to forget.
Really makes a man wonder. You can't stare at a stag in the wilderness without wanting to have sex with it, can you, Annie?
That's right, Frasier. I had a real hard-on when I saw those deer, too.
Marty!
We now get to go to the ski lodge living room where Daphne's sitting on the instructor at the fireplace. We've, at this point, already learned, by the way, I didn't even mention this, that Guy actually wants Niles.
Yep, everyone does.
Yeah.
Why is Niles so...
He's got two people into
There's
him.
only two Crane brothers, and they probably are making the right call.
Okay, that's a good point. If it's between Frasier and Niles, I'm going to go Niles pretty much 98% of the time. There's 2% chance for Frasier.
So we get
They all want to pierce that David hide.
Oh, yeah, good one. We get a little line here while Daphne's asking him, is there anything you can't do? You're such a handyman. And he's like, well, one thing. Clearly mentioning he's not
Have sex with
interested.
women.
Yeah, he doesn't do that. So here's when Heartthrob Niles enters, who everyone wants, and everyone's hitting on him from his shorts or something that he's wearing in that scene. I forget what
I
it
don't
was,
know. I
but
didn't understand what they were wearing a lot of
I
this
don't know.
episode.
I think this is where they're in the robes.
Yeah, and they kind of
I
write
think
up
so.
some.
Everyone compliments his robe, like Annie's screaming about it, Guy's jumping on him, everyone's freaking out about Niles, and then Annie wants a rum refill, so Frasier rudely tells Daphne to get it because she's a caretaker and, I guess, slave. I guess she plays all kinds of roles.
Here's his line. I wrote it down because it's so Frasier-like and absurd. He says, "Let it be known that Frasier Crane would never let a woman go thirsty. Daphne, why don't you check and see if Dad's done with the second batch of hot rum?"
Yeah, just right away.
So I'm going to refill
And
your drink.
this
Let me
was-
make the help do it.
The first part of that line is just as repulsive to me.
Yeah.
Frasier Crane knows when a woman's drink. Something about it is so smarmy and date rapey. I don't know. That's just weird.
He's being consistent, at least, I guess. So in the kitchen, Daphne is venting to Marty, who, again, he can't hear, that she wishes Annie was hot for Frasier instead of Niles. So he says, what? And she says, hot for Frasier. And he hears that part. So he's like, oh, Annie's hot for Frasier. Ah, okay.
Which by this time was already probably, I don't know, like second or third most popular Van Halen song, Hot for Frasier.
Marty takes it in stride. He seemed like he expected it. And yeah, I mean, he's staying out of it. He's obviously he's the one who's not looking to have sex on this trip, and no one's looking to have sex with him. So he's just making his hot buttered rum and making his speeches that make everyone horny without knowing it. So he's having a good time.
And his mind's probably drifting off about the good old days.
Sure, yeah.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah.
He's enjoying himself, and he doesn't really care. He's like, oh, that's cool that Annie wants Frasier, blah, blah, blah. When Daphne leaves and Frasier comes in right afterwards, of course, because it's a TV show, it happens that Marty wants to let Frasier know the good news. Hey, Annie has the hots for you. So Frasier's like, I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. So we've got our first shoe to drop here where the miscommunication is solidified. Now, Frasier believes for sure that Annie's into him.
Like dominoes lined up one after the other, all women who've been swimsuit models will fall for Frasier Crane.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with TV shows and constantly doing this, like where they think that certain men are somehow possibly able to date women like that.
It's like in the world of your TV show, Kelsey Grammer's not a TV star. So this is not going to happen.
We go back to the ski lodge living room here. Annie's trying to sit on Niles here, and Daphne pulls her away because she's got a present for her. She's like, hey, come see my birthday present. Stop raping Niles. And then the camera pans over. Of course, Guy is staring at Niles right beside him. So again, the show really makes a point to, they're really elaborating here. Niles isn't. He's in demand.
He's a hunk.
Yeah.
Everybody went. I halfway expected Frasier to be like, you know what?
Oh, Niles, you're quite handsome tonight.
So Guy observes that Daphne seemed like she didn't like Annie hitting on Niles. And Niles says, yeah, you're right. I bet I know what that means. So we've got another one here. We've got another person who's thinking that their crush is reciprocating.
Yeah, because Guy's hearing Niles say, well, I wasn't into Annie anyway.
Right, yeah. And then Niles even puts his hand on his leg at one point, I believe, just completely.
And then down his pants.
completely misleads him accidentally.
Sucked him off right there on network television.
There's also
Groundbreaking.
There's a really kind of subtle thing here that I didn't even notice necessarily at first, but I had to rewind this several times to make notes. But Niles says something about I can't imagine what they're doing in there, and you hear the laughter from the gift, and Guy's, he's thinking that they're getting it on. He's laughing. He's like, oh, I think I have an idea. So there's all kinds of assumptions being made. There's gay jokes, and yeah, Niles accidentally leads Guy on. So we've got pretty much everybody confused at this point. In the kitchen, Guy talks to Marty about this thing with Niles. He's pretty open with him. He's like, hey, I want to fuck your son. And Marty thinks that, he's thinking he's talking about feelings for Daphne. He completely misreads that. He's like, oh yeah, he's always had those feelings. Guy thinks he's saying he's always had gay feelings.
He's like, you don't have a problem with this?
Yeah,
I mean, this is the 90s.
Away.
So yeah, wow, really? And Marty's, yeah, no, it's totally cool. He's when
not
he was married.
Anymore, yeah.
Yeah.
What a progressive dad you are, Marty.
And yeah, Marty definitely doesn't seem like the type who would be progressive, so I get that entirely. So again, we're really, this is clinched at this point for Guy. He's going to fuck Niles. And so is Annie. which in the living room now we get to see Daphne and Annie and what they were up to. For some reason, I don't know why this would be, but Daphne doesn't want Annie to have a weekend about sex, but got her like a sexy, like almost lingerie-like gown for her
it's
birthday
their birthday weekend.
Why would you? Yeah, that's a strange gift to give someone at a ski lodge on their birthday weekend. Here's
which
a
might
sexy
lend
gown.
itself a little bit to the blocking her from Niles a little bit, to be like, I'm setting up a thing where it's obvious, but no. Maybe Daphne, when she set it up, thought Frasier would have a shot. I don't know.
Huh.
Well,
I guess-
she has watched Frasier for 4 seasons to this point, get tons of women.
Firsthand, yeah.
Yeah, I believe he does go through quite a few. He's quite the ladies' man.
It's not unlike Jerry and Jerry Seinfeld, but Jerry Seinfeld's A, in better shape, B, a better looking man than Kelsey Grammer,
Younger.
C, younger.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes more sense with that
A
kind of
stand-up
character.
comedian, which
Yeah.
is a public facing.
More likable,
Although
yeah.
I guess Frasier's a radio psychologist.
Yeah, and I'm sure the voice and his intelligence would be a
deep
turn on.
baritone voice. Because I don't know.
Sure
about
didn't
you
work
guys.
for me.
Yeah, this hasn't worked for me, but it's not a baritone voice. Also, do you think Frasier ever used a Rembrandt to get in a woman's rim pants?
You did say you thought someone would make a worse joke than the one he did earlier, so
And it was him.
Yeah,
He did it
there we
himself.
go.
Yep.
Yeah,
I knew it would
I
be.
thought it was good.
And I tell you what. You know that phrase, the Wayne Gretzky quote, like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Oh,
I
that's
learned
Wayne Gretzky that said that?
originally.
I
yeah.
never knew.
It's attributed to Michael Jordan, I think, now. But it was
I
Wayne
don't feel like
Gretzky.
he would
It's
say
also
that.
attributed to Michael
He would
Scott.
get
Yeah.
furious to even think about missing 100 shots and like kill everybody.
But yeah, I take all the shots I can take, and I miss like 75% of them. I'm a Carmelo Anthony type.
So, with everyone rejoined in the room and the rums refilled, Marty starts waxing poetic about this is the very same rum that he made when he proposed to his late wife. And he's given this big speech. It's emotional. He's feeling it. Again, he's having a good time. He actually says, I almost didn't go through with it, but this rum gave me the courage, which that's I don't know. That's a little weak, but still.
It's better than the alternative that I thought they were going to do, which was I got her drunk and she agreed. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
That would have been,
That's how you guys
Frasier
were
would have
born.
approved. But in any case, yeah, he says, I'm glad I got the courage to do it. What would have happened if I hadn't? Your biggest regrets in life, it's not the things you did, it's the things you didn't do.
Which is totally true.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Just do it, Nike.
So he gives that speech and everyone's affected. The look in their eyes, it's gleaming. The men are sitting there just ready to pounce.
And by the way, they do look like lustily
Yeah.
after the women. Like everybody's hamming it up here.
Well, and it continues to just lead to everybody's misunderstanding continuing to go that direction. It just never quite works for them in this situation.
Because every single person in the room thinks they know what's about to happen next. Because they believe they've got it figured out.
Yeah, they're all on the same page except with the wrong person. So it's an interesting dynamic we've got here.
It's a really nice little farce setup. Like I like
Yeah.
the little like musical chairs game.
Sure.
It's really fun. From here on out, I
gets
like this
nuts.
episode already, but the ending sequence takes so many crazy steps that I was just genuinely impressed.
I was increasingly surprised with each bedroom.
Me too.
Each scene, it was
Just-
like, oh wow, they kept this going. With everyone in this place where they're ready to fuck, they all rush off to the room and leave Marty by himself. They all rush off to their conjoining rooms where I mentioned it looks like it's all in a hallway together. It looks like a mystery story, I swear. It was interesting. So they all rush off into there, and then chaos is about to ensue for the rest of this episode. We're going to get into all that and more, but first let's do a quick break. Now, something we didn't mention before the break is that Daphne and Annie accidentally switched rooms before Niles and Frasier went in theirs, but they realized their mistake after the fact and switched back. However, at this point, Frasier and Niles have the wrong room in mind for Daphne and Annie. So that's kind of the beginning of these shenanigans here. Now, inside the rooms, Niles gets to be the one to go first. He goes into what he thinks is Daphne's room and speaks his heart to a closed bathroom door. There's no one actually there, but presumably Daphne is in the bathroom. So rather than wait for her to get out of the bathroom, he talks to her through the bathroom with his big confession about how he feels about her and how much he's wanted her from the moment he saw her. Annie can't wait any longer. She bursts out the door in her sexy gown and can't wait to tell him, hey, I feel the same way about you. And Niles has actually made me laugh. He's horrified. He's horrified at Annie jumping out there.
He does a really good facial expression.
Yeah, he did that part really well. He's shocked because, of course, he had no idea. It's at this point he is thrilled that Guy breaks in the room to interrupt them, and Niles is thinking, great, I have an excuse for an escape now, whereas Guy is just trying to get Niles.
And Annie and Guy are both like, look at this stud.
Yeah,
hunk of a man.
They just start fighting over him right there, honestly. With this being established, Niles now has an alibi to leave the room.
I like it because Guy's like, I wanted to show you the thing. And I was like, yeah, of course, that thing. Let's go show me that thing.
He's got the alibi, yeah, and he's
believe they call it a penis.
Oh, s'il vous plaît.
No, Guy does have, he does have something to show him. And he's thinking, I've got him all to myself. And Niles is just like, thank God I can get the fuck out of here. So they leave. They go into the hallway. In the hallway, Niles is trying to go back to his room. And Guy's like, why don't we go to mine?
Let's make it look realistic, huh?
You look like you wanted to say something there, so I did try to set you up with that. It's a French impersonation.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah.
Look at me. I sound like that candle from Beauty and the Beast.
Actually, yeah. Pretty much exactly.
Hey, I'm the clock.
What was that candle's name? Chip was the clock.
Lumiere.
No, that was the fucking teacup.
Chip was the teacup, which was voiced by
he was the little
Murder,
baby.
She Wrote woman.
Angela Lansbury
is the teacup.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was Mrs. Potter. What was
That's probably my favorite animated
Oh, I love Beauty
movie.
and the Beast. It's wonderful.
But
and Kelsey Grammer was in it.
You like it because Gaston was in it.
Well, that was the best part
Gaston,
about it.
yeah.
Wait, Kelsey Grammer was in Beauty and the Beast?
It was a Beast callback.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, good.
I wish he'd like just voiced the Beast.
He
that
was
would have been
Beast,
great.
But it was also the blue X-Men Beast. Oh, man. Dr. Hank McCoy.
You've arrived at my castle.
Well, let me introduce you to Professor X.
Now that G has Niles alone, he does convince him to go into his room with him because he feels like, you're going to be too loud if you go that close to Annie. She's going to know you didn't actually do anything. You didn't go anywhere far away. So Niles is like, okay, sure. That sounds like a good plan. I'll go into your room, Guy. I don't know what he was going to do after that, but for the time being, he agrees. He's going to go to Guy's room with him. Guess who's in the room waiting for Guy? Daphne. She's in bed, all set and waiting for Guy to enter so that she can express her love for him.
that Guy can enter.
Right. And now we've got all three of them in the room. Daphne's horrified to see Niles in there because she feels like she's been caught. She covers her face with the
and
comforter.
Exclaims Dr. Crane. I like how
Crane.
she I wonder when they're married if she still calls him
that.
Dr. Crane.
She's very embarrassed, but quickly finds a way to make an excuse and say she's in the wrong room. She didn't mean to be in here. So she quickly gets up and leaves. And then Niles takes this opportunity to say, hey, let me escort you out. And the hallway's dark out there. So he's not.
It was the flimsiest fucking thing, but I loved it.
Yeah,
it's also a Niles thing.
It fits. Yeah, it's totally what he would do. And he's got to strike while the iron's hot.
And it's brave because I know Niles has to be afraid of dark hallways.
Well, we know he's afraid of the street.
Locked cars. Yeah.
Seems to be afraid of a lot of things. Niles is he's pampered, I think, as a child, most likely.
Tried to blow up that dam with his brother on it and Bart.
So this is another scene I really liked here in the hallway. The duo that just ran out of the room, they run into Frasier, who's got champagne. Now, I believe he's still clothed at this point.
But it's that vest or that cloak. What the hell do you call that? Robe.
Yeah.
Cloak. He's a vampire.
It's the Harry Potter thing or something, yeah.
He's got it open, so he's got more chest out. It progressively gets more open until he just doesn't have it.
When you have, totally average pecs, you got to show that shit off.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like just a standard kind of old man, which is funny that he was only 40 or something. Because he looks like your average 50-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Just nothing's
like a 50-year-old who has kept himself in shape, and you think he's a little loose, but it's
but he's solid.
By 50, if you don't look like total garbage, it means you're running 6 miles a day and lifting an elephant every hour.
There's a little bit of loose skin, but he's still he's got something. He's not not a terrible figure. So in any case, he's waiting for them with the champagne. And everyone's lying to each other. It's an awkward exchange. Niles and Daphne pretend to be going around telling everyone goodnight, going room to room, telling everyone goodnight, which I really thought was funny.
No, that was a nice little touch.
And now we're going to go tell, I forget who it is. We're going to tell Annie goodnight next. And so Frasier's got to make up his lie, which he also reads this perfectly. He says, I was just bringing the champagne to Dad.
Yeah, just very, very
like
sullenly
you wouldn't do
at
that in a row. Like it just, here, Marty, here's some champagne in the middle of the night. But also the way he does it is great. And the way their plans just falling apart left and right at this point is fantastic.
But everyone's still trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
Their intentions.
They're all trying to act like it's not what it is. So at this point, Niles sees his chance to get Daphne alone, says, hey, before we go to Annie's room, come with me to mine. And I want to tell you something.
There's something I need to further delay telling you.
Because guess who's waiting in Niles' room in the bed? Anyone have a guess?
I think it's probably Guy.
Cyclops.
This time it's Annie.
Oh, well, I had a 1 in 5 shot.
Yeah, they all want him, of course. There's probably some people in this episode we didn't see. Like, did we miss anyone? In the beginning, I guess it was just Roz. Roz probably wanted him too. Maybe Bulldog.
Bulldog's outside the thing, just
He's
looking
watching,
in.
There's a two-way window.
He's definitely leering. I just like to watch.
So Annie's waiting in the bed this time. Daphne is furious because this means Annie's didn't listen to her. Annie decided she was going to fuck Niles anyway. She had explicit orders not to fuck Niles, and she's going to do it anyway. So
house rules.
Here's the thing.
Jokers are wild. Don't fuck Niles.
Annie's got a pretty good point here. Is like, yeah.
Put the toilet seat down. Don't fuck Niles.
Annie's response is, yeah, you just wanted them all to yourself, because that's what it looks like at this point, to be fair. And this is Annie's birthday weekend, so that would be kind of mean of Daphne, to be honest, that would be. So they have a big misunderstanding about this. There is a threesome joke they threw in that I feel like was probably bold at that time period, like for sitcom, for network TV like that. Like,
I think Niles didn't really react like traditional sitcom men would at that time. That's what surprised me. Usually you would mention that and automatically you have to have the guy go, oh yeah, that sounds so hot. Where in reality, that seems like a lot of work where no one's getting...
Especially if you're Niles and you're madly in love with Daphne.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want anybody else to get a piece of the
big
Nile
joke
River.
is Annie's haughty, I don't do those anymore, that thing. So yeah, but that was...
reformed...
threesomer.
Yeah.
What do they call those?
Orgist?
I think it needs more than 3 for...
Trifucker.
Wild fucker? Yeah, I don't know. Like,
in any case,
Sexsmith?
Annie didn't want anything to do with it. She's upset. This is the worst birthday weekend ever. She's crying, and she just leaves the room. And Daphne says, "You know what? I've got to go after her and explain." So now in Annie's room, or presumably Annie's room, because at this point I forget like who's switched into what.
We're in our 8th room.
It gets really confusing. But this is where they run into Frasier, shirtless on the bed with the champagne.
I think completely nude because he picks up the
You're
blanket.
Right. You only see
the
the shirtless, of course. They didn't put Frasier dick on TV, but you're right.
Shame on the producers of Frasier. They should have had that thing out because he wouldn't mind.
I think you're right, though. I think man, that's presumptuous of him to be in Annie's bed totally naked with that champagne. It's in character. Sure, that's and he thinks she's got the hots for him. Although I don't know that necessarily means let's just immediately fuck right here,
and he,
right
of course,
now.
pops the champagne right when the light turns on.
I mean, it was funny. Yeah, and the whole thing was great. Daphne's horrified. She orders him out of the room. He's horrified. He rushes to get away to Niles' room. And now Guy's waiting for Niles. So we've got yet another bedroom entrance where someone's waiting for someone. This time it's Guy. He can't quite wait to get his hands on Niles. At this point, it seemed to me like the Crane brothers, because the first thing Frasier does is call Niles in the room and say, hey, he's asking for you, because Guy says, you're not the crane I want. So
I'd like an industrial crane capable of picking up wreckage.
They have a little exchange, and then Frasier says, Niles, get in here. He wants you. And then there's a back and forth, and Niles tries to pawn Frasier off on him, and then they all do this for a little bit, and Frasier says, hey, you know what? If you guys don't mind, I've got somebody in the next room who's madly in love with me or wants me badly or something like that. I forget what it was. So he storms off into Annie's room. I still don't know why he was in the other room in the first place, but I guess it was the switch thing. This time he's going to get the right room. He storms off with his robe, his champagne, and he does find Annie, but Annie doesn't want him to find her, especially when she's just in her room in private. She is very upset at this point, understandably. What would you guys
he just
do?
barges in.
What would you do if a nearly nude I'm not even going to say Frasier. I'm going to say Kelsey Grammer burst into your room with some champagne.
I would assume he was already drunk.
Well, and I'm also like, hand me a glass, man. Because, if it's actually Kelsey Grammer, I'd be very interested in talking with the guy for a little bit.
Even if he's bursting in a robe and champagne, that could be a cause for
I would
concern.
have so many questions.
There's a story to hear.
Yeah, and where's my life going? Like, whatever's about to happen is really interesting.
How am I at the ski lodge?
Yeah.
So yeah, Annie's horrified, as I think most people would be. And this is where Frasier finally clears one of these things up, where the rest of it can be unraveled as to how this all happened. And he says, "Hey, it's not my fault. My dad told me you had the hots for me." And then she says, like, what? And then he says, "Hey, if you want to blame anyone, blame Daphne. She's the one who told me this." And at this point, it gets so convoluted with their back and forth, I think it's easier just to let the show tell you guys how it went.
Blame Daphne. She told him.
I did not. I said she wanted your brother.
Good night, and I please have some privacy.
You're just putting the moves on everyone, aren't you?
Would you kindly get out of my bed? I am not gay, Guy.
Please acknowledge your true nature. Stop chasing these lesbians.
Lesbian!
Your father himself told me you wanted me.
My father said I wanted you, Daddy.
And it dissolves into chaotic yelling. I actually really did like that. I laughed at the stop chasing after these lesbians part too, because Geese thought that since the birthday gift thing. And it's all out of left field for everyone is the point.
It's all come crumbling down.
Yeah, the reveal for that is just such a chaotic mess. I was really impressed by the layers they built in that and in the continued theme. And it was actually funny because you might think the repeated bed thing would get old, but it works the way they present it.
It's one of those things that escalates to a point where it's just delirium.
Yeah.
And I really liked that about it. They didn't pull back like, we can only do this 3 times. It's funnier because it happens 48 times.
And I was genuinely at some point, like I kind of stopped expecting it and it was still happening. Like I just kind of, the one that got me the most though is the Frasier popping the cork when they entered thing. Like
that was.
I really liked that. And some of the way they read the lines in that really actually did make me genuinely laugh.
And it moves really fast in the back half of the episode in a way that sitcoms don't often.
Yeah, honestly, the setup part took quite a while and then the rest of it was nuts. Like I had to write so many notes just to remember what happened next. And really it was just a few minutes.
Yeah.
This whole last scene is just from room to room and it's kind of like a whirlwind fashion.
Room to room to room to room to room.
Yeah, and the conjoining element really kind of makes that work, but it's quite a little journey right there. And I was surprised at how it went, and I thought it was pretty well done. They did execute it well. What's funny here, and this is another well done conclusion to the episode, is in all this screaming, Marty bursts in and says, "Hey, you know what? You guys need to keep it down. It's the middle of the night." He realizes my ears are working again, and he's just thrilled about it. While everyone's just yelling at each other, and they're like red in the face, staring at each other, and Marty's just sitting there smiling. He's so happy.
Obliviously.
Totally
he hasn't heard
oblivious.
any of this.
No. And just now, he's like, "I've got my hearing back." Well, good night, everyone. Niles has the suggestion, look, guys, let's just pretend this never happened, and we'll just go to sleep and never talk about it again. That's a good plan, by the way. On the way out, Frasier, who's slinking out with his I think he still has the champagne. He does, doesn't he?
He does, and this is the most Frasier thing.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
This is also makes him have to eat shit a little bit.
Oh, wait, everybody. Let me see if I can get this straight. All the lust coursing through this lodge tonight. All the hormones virtually ricocheting off the walls. And no one was chasing me.
Again, Kelsey Grammer nails the delivery of this being like a pompous guy.
And that was like the first thing I recognized in this. And that when they were revealing everyone's true intentions, it was like, no one wants Frasier. What they didn't say there after that, what they did say about Frasier is they didn't talk about the thing we were talking about this whole time with Niles, is that, and yet we had everyone wanting Niles. I felt like Niles was going to point that out when they panned to David Hyde Pierce, but he gave Frasier the same look he gave that everyone gave him, that's like, yep, I guess that's true. I guess nobody wanted you, Frasier.
It's also more effective to make the guy everyone's lusting after Niles rather than Guy,
right,
in a sense, because it's also more of a like to Frasier,
Mhm.
because that would annoy him more.
Because Guy's the hunk. saying
Yeah,
Frasier's
and
obviously
Niles
the
is
hunk.
his stupid little brother.
Yeah.
That's another thing too, is that you would think that would be a good match for Annie, but she was never interested in him at any point. It was Niles or bust for her. That is the whole premise of that episode. Did you guys have any thoughts we skipped over or anything?
Just the ending sequence, which is also awesome, where in the end credits, Frasier goes down to get a snack while the music's playing. And while he's down getting a snack, Annie's like, fine, and goes to Frasier's room, knocks on the door. She's going to go ahead and give Frasier what he wants, but he never answers, so she walks away. We see her walk away, and Frasier walk up all pleased with his little plate of food back to his room. Again, just oblivious that he finally would have gotten his wish, but on the off chance that he went down to get a snack, he missed his shot.
I actually did not even catch that. I caught him going down to get a snack, but I didn't realize that Annie was doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty great, because she's probably like, fuck it, it's my birthday.
I don't have any other options,
Yeah,
so whatever.
And Frasier, the one time he's like, I'm getting a charcuterie plate.
I would imagine that by that point he'd accepted his fate and was perfectly fine.
No, that's why he looked like that's kind of the joke, is he's just
No, but I mean he doesn't know he missed Annie, right?
No, he has no idea.
But I
He's
feel
like
like
even
at that-
smiling. He's just obliviously like, I'll have my little snack.
My only problem with that joke is it kind of plays into again, Frasier has all these beautiful women throughout the run of the show that he dates. Yet another beautiful woman has, even if it's her last choice, like whatever, still chosen to do it. I don't like that aspect of it, but I do like that it caused
I kind of took an alternate look of
Right
this
place,
is
right time.
Annie's empowerment thing of being like, I don't even like him and I've told him, but it's
Sure.
my fucking birthday weekend and I don't give a shit.
Might as well.
And again, kind of like Frasier is just pleasantly oblivious. I like that her acting was kind of like walking just not excitedly over to Frasier's store, knocking on it, giving it like 2 seconds and then walking
leaving.
away. Yeah.
I
Anyway, well performed all around there.
And I did want to say real quick that if the whole crux of this thing was caused by Marty's bad hearing, if bad hearing leads to stuff like this, then my life must be the funniest fucking thing in the world because it's all bad hearing. Don't
go
case.
to a ski lodge resort. You're going to turn everyone against each other sexually.
You a couple
Again.
hours ago spent time convincing me
This
to
was
go to a ski
before you
lodge.
revealed your hearing problems. Now we're not doing that. It's too dangerous. It's really actually from the beginning to end. It's at least well done, even if it's not necessarily anyone who watches its style. Like I don't know how much someone like us would want to watch an episode like that in our own time, but we can appreciate at least that it was done
I just
well.
flat out thought this was good.
Yeah.
This
I laughed
episode-
a lot.
Written,
Yeah, it was well written, well structured, and also I like things like this, like the whodunit nature of the room shifting and the little hijinks and the
Anarchy.
But yeah, and where I can't even quite keep up, so I could be surprised. I don't know. I thought it was just really fun.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head because we've done a few shows that were at least average or even decent, like good sometimes, but I don't think they've been funny good from what I can recall off the top of my head. I don't know that I've laughed genuinely like I did in this last episode at any of the other shows. Maybe laughed in other ways for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I laughed at something that was trying to be funny, whereas we have laughed at Renegade
Of
or
course,
stupid
yeah,
shit. But
a lot.
this tried to be funny and it accomplished that goal.
Yeah, and I feel like what's the only other show I could say did that at all? Probably Steven Universe that we've covered, where the joke was intentionally made, and I still was like,
Even those more like a little
chuckle.
And
Yeah.
and those had a lot of dramatic elements too. So, and of course, Columbo was pure comedy. So, yeah,
in a way. Yeah, I've got eggs in my shoes. I need to solve this murder.
There weren't a lot of sitcoms that we did that had the success in however small window it was that Frasier had. The others were all kind of like you could just.
Well, King of Queens.
I did like King of Queens just fine.
It also ran for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Roz got a better role in that one, though. You remember when Roz works at IPS with Doug
I don't know if he's
and,
being real.
I don't either.
or
and Deacon? Yeah, she's like the manager. Oh, fuck, I can't keep this up.
No, you can't. You're starting to crack.
I was thinking maybe at a certain point I was like, well, this could be. I haven't seen all the King of Queens. We'd have to bring in Katie to verify this.
Our resident King of Queens expert.
I do have one last note on this, I guess this specific episode. The guy who plays Guy, the actor, I didn't recognize him, but for whatever reason, I wound up in his IMDb page.
I looked at it too. What was it? John Patrick something?
Something like that, yeah. The only thing I recognized him and I'm going to bring this up because it will be the second series the Boob Tube Boys have done that I've brought this up. He voiced Dengar, the bounty hunter, in some show called Lego Star Wars: The Freemaker Adventures.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds fun to watch.
It's his best role, I bet, as Dengar.
Dengar is a
career.
role that keeps on giving to those who take it.
A garbage role.
Now, how did you feel about his French accent?
I mean, he spoke French well. I think the French accent in English was
A little bit
passable
much.
but wrong.
It seemed like over the top.
It really was.
Please.
Yeah.
French is weirdly actually romantic languages. I have more difficulty knowing whether or not the person's being over the top or
Yeah.
not.
This
Yeah,
was
'cause
definitely
they
over the
are.
top, but it wasn't as bad as I might have expected.
Yeah.
The actual French, the Je m'appelle,
Yeah,
you know,
that sounded real.
that was good.
Actually, David Hyde Pierce's
Did a really
French
good
sounded
French.
really
Yeah,
good.
he sounded, speaking of elocution, I mean, he sounded like he had that down pat.
He has to be, David Hyde Pierce is like a theater actor, right?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so.
Because he's very,
Kelsey Grammer
And
was
voice
also.
work. And voice work. So
Okay.
yeah, I was mentioning that in the first episode. The cast really, for the most part, didn't do a whole lot, but they all did some other stuff. And I noticed a lot of voice work for like Roz and David Hyde Pierce.
And this is a well acted show.
Yeah.
Frasier. You know, even the things I don't like about it, they don't really have anything to do with the acting.
No, it's all perfectly well executed and at parts. I think there've got to be other episodes like this too, because I haven't watched it that much as an adult, but I wasn't too young. I was, like I said, 14 or so, and I really liked it a lot for several years. So I think probably anywhere from I'd say it was one of those shows that was good right away too. So it might have had a good 4 or 5 year run where it was legitimately good television.
And that's what made me wonder is like this very good episode is in the 5th season.
mm-hmm.
So it made me and the episode that we watched last week in the 3rd season
Was
not
bad.
so good.
No, I think that must have been an
A
anomaly.
fluke
though.
thing. Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Because they had Frasier fully fleshed out. You know, you don't always have
Yeah.
that advantage with
Yes.
the TV show.
You can
so
play off your characters
that
better.
might have helped them get off the ground quicker.
And this episode did a lot for redeeming Frasier to me after watching the first one because I was really afraid
He was
that
still a little much. Like
yeah. Well, not
especially-
Frasier the character of the show.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
We're kind of at this point of talking about the show,
Sure.
like the overall
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
talk about how we felt when
Yeah.
prior to watching these 2 episodes.
So I had not watched a full episode of Frasier since I was probably also about 14, maybe a stray one here and there
Yeah,
after.
I'm sure
But,
I've seen more than
I was never a huge Frasier fan. I always thought it was better than average. That's what I would say. And then going into this, what I expected was a better than average sitcom that I could appreciate but would not think is funny. That's what I thought I was going to witness. That's not what I got. I got one episode that was a below average sitcom that wasn't funny, and then another episode that was fucking awesome and Agatha Christie wrote it or something. So it was a very mixed bag, but it also showed me that the people making the show were willing to do some stuff. They were willing to take some chances and break with format and things like that. So I come away from it thinking it's actually maybe a more adventurous show than I would have thought.
I want to tell you real quickly one memory because I have various memories scattered. I don't remember entire episodes very much, but I remember certain plot points. And this is, I think, from when I was 14, and I thought this was hilarious then, and it still sounds that way to me now. I remember watching this one episode that they stumbled across their mom's, who's long past, journal about, they think them, like it's basically when they were children, her thoughts on them. And she says something, about how Frasier's sweet, but afraid to give affection. And then Niles has something too. I forget what it is, but something, I think like something that he's a little bit.
Niles is hot and every woman that man wants him.
Something like he's smart, but it's almost like he takes it like she was saying he's a wimp, but she didn't mean it that way. But they're a little bit taken aback by their mom's criticisms. And they both work that whole episode to not be the weakness that they think their mom perceived in them, or not necessarily weakness, but just whatever she wrote that they were like, what? Why'd she say that about me? And there's this one scene where Niles does something like brave. You know, I think that's what it is he's timid is what it is. He's timid. So Niles takes a tough chance on something and it doesn't work out. And then Frasier's like, you know, Niles, I don't think I've ever been more proud of you. And then he awkwardly like starts to go toward him to hug him because he wants to show him his affection. And it's just a really, and Niles just kind of straight faces it and doesn't like it at all. Later they find, they keep reading the journal and it ends like, and Frasier reads it to him. So they figure out what's going on. It's like, Niles, look at the last page. it's a sad day. Frasier and Niles died today, and it's like they were hamsters.
Oh,
They were hamsters. She named them, and she was like, I can't wait to have children of my own and give them these names. And it was never even about them the whole time, and they were acting all sensitive about it and trying to change their lives for it. So there are little elements like that in the show that are really well done and really funny.
And really like takes the piss out of Niles and Frasier as characters, which I love.
Yes.
Because they believe themselves to be holier than thou, and then they're kind of proven to be named after hamsters.
and to your point,
I'm glad
Brian.
by the way, real quick, I'm glad that Mandy and I weren't named after our pet hamsters, Fuzzy Sparkles and Little Dude.
I
be
wish you
awesome.
were. That would. Well, which one were you?
I was Little Dude. Would be
Well,
me.
that's
That
Yeah.
would have been
nickname now.
confusing in the Hey Dude episode, though.
Yeah.
That's true.
Tell me, little dude, how you feel about Hey Dude and Mr. Ernst.
I did for 2 hours.
At least.
Yes, you did. Here's my perception of Frasier when I was a kid, because I did not like Frasier, and I can understand why going back, and I had it wrong when I was a kid. I didn't like how pompous the show was.
Oh, because you're a kid, you don't know that it's supposed to be like
Right.
satirical. Yeah.
And it is satirical, and the characters themselves are pompous. The show takes them down several pegs often. So I thought, as an adult, before watching these two to do this, because I have not seen Frasier since I was a kid, I can 100% tell you that for sure. I think the show is pretty good overall.
It's definitely one of the best we've covered.
Yes.
Which, okay, damning with faint praise.
However, I could not handle too much of this show.
I get it.
Because them being pompous is too much for me. I do not
This
like
would be
pompous
like
people.
if you were to pick and choose the best episodes of the show, I bet it would be fun. And you didn't like, you wouldn't, I don't know that I could binge this.
No.
No. And then the other thing, too, is I wondered the success of Frasier. Is that because of, let me give you an example. Earlier on in this episode, when they're discussing Annie, it's when they first get to the ski lodge, they start talking about Pygmalion, that George Bernard Shaw play, and they're making these hoity-toity jokes. We're high society. We watch Pygmalion. We know all about it. The average viewer of anything doesn't have a clue what that is. Right. That's an old-ass play. I barely know anything about it. I don't think anyone watched this show and got those kind of jokes. I think they saw them at face value, which was pompous jokes. So, on that note, that feels to me a little too much Big Bang Theory-like. Where Big Bang Theory, people who aren't that bright, who love Big Bang Theory, are like, the show's so smart. People who are bright and watch it like for different reasons, but they'll watch it and be like,
I
they're
think
just
I see
saying
what you're saying, and I don't know for sure if I agree with you, but I like this theory because I have a supporting element, such as in the first episode when world-renowned radio psychologist who has a focus group coming in, Frasier Crane, is pressed to think of an inspirational psychologist. All he comes up with is Sigmund Freud.
Right.
The most common name you would hear mentioned, which is a very Big Bang Theory of like, we're only going to mention Star Wars and Star Trek. You know, like
nerds can't play sports.
We're going to keep it to the surface so that any viewer could pick up on what we're saying here. So like, you know, if you're going to mention an artist or a play, make sure it's one of the 5 that, you know, a layperson would have known.
So do you think there was audiences out there who liked Frasier because it was smart? Or was it just because it
is
had
a
the
smart
good jokes?
show. Like,
it is smarter than
it's
the average.
written, especially that second one. Like
was
that,
written well.
I know
It
what
was-
you mean, though.
You get what I'm trying to
And
say.
yes, I did it when I was 14. Yeah, I was like, I felt like a smart person.
Okay.
Okay.
Because my sister told me, she was like, that show's stupid. I was like, and I was joking when I said it. I was like, you're just not smart enough for it. Yeah, I did. I liked that it seemed like these characters were intelligent people, and it was something that I enjoyed at the time. You know,
I can totally see that.
And then the other point I want to bring up is this was one of the first sitcoms that I know of, and of course I was young at this time. I didn't watch a lot of just every sitcom that was less working man. And I did not say working man. Thank you. So I'm not going to play
It's
the
a good
clip.
thing that you did. Wait. I think you should.
Working man, you're working it to the bone.
Anyway, so it's not a working man show. This isn't Tim Allen talking about his tools and grunting. This is high society being taken down a peg. Is this the first example of that you can think of?
That's a good
I know
question.
that's putting you on the spot.
I mean,
of course.
I'm putting us on this. I'm certain that it happened before. I don't know if it happened in this medium though. Like, I don't know if there was a sitcom exactly like this, because the working man sitcom is a forever thing. You know, back to like I Love Lucy and like
Sure.
Ethel and Fred having to run that building, and like a lot of the jokes come from that. And but I don't know about like the high society, like kind of poking fun at the upper crust.
Yeah.
Right. This
Which
seems
is
like
a
it's
really
the
good
first
trait.
one.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me rephrase
It's
this
certainly
question.
it's the most like recognizable one, even if it isn't the first.
Yeah. Now let me ask this question then. Similar style thing. Is this the first show you can remember that basically centered on characters that are not likable? Like, okay, Seinfeld is called that, and none of those characters are really likable. You like them for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But this show is very much these high society pieces of shit are so hoity-toity. I like it when they get knocked down a peg. You don't like Frasier. You don't like Niles.
Right.
You like what happens to them, and that's why the show is successful.
Which is the
And
thing
wonder
that
if
I
this is the
think
first.
is a quality I think is impressive when a show can succeed doing that.
Mhm.
And I mean, and Daphne's kind of like in a way, and as
She's
well
the
as-
audience surrogate.
Yes. Where you like Daphne because Daphne's like a nice, normal person. And that's kind of the same thing with Marty also.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah, they
these
give it-
are
they give
people
it
I would,
balance.
I would have a beer with these people or whatever.
As you knew when you picked it, Van, this was definitely a childhood thing of mine, so I enjoyed it. I'm not going to go out and watch it now, but I have watched a few over the years since that time period, and I usually enjoy them unless it's one of the later ones, and I don't make it through those because
Are those really that bad?
they're not very good.
Okay.
They just kind of, they do what every show does when it goes on too long, just too many convenient people getting thrown together. They have
They've already told the story. They're just getting
Yeah.
paid to do more.
It's
Right.
just wacky
It just doesn't-
scenarios.
And I'm not an expert in the last several seasons because I haven't seen more than just scattered ones that are on TV or whatever. But what I have seen of those, they don't draw my interest at all. They're pretty lazy compared to the ones. Well, the second one we talked about. The first one might have been you could probably say that one was lazy too, but different way.
I'm hung up on your points, Van, about like Frasier's potentially groundbreaking.
It kind of is.
I think that's probably. I think it's probably true. I can't think of any time they would have done that before then. Like acted like.
Well, and we kind of needed the 80s to make us realize that wealth was a problem.
And the excess. And all
Yeah.
that.
So coming out of that, it kind of does make some sense.
And Frasier then bled into Arrested Development.
Yeah.
A rich hoity-toity family.
And not
that-
only led into, but I believe Arrested Development literally starts the year that Frasier ends.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Early 2000s. You're
Yeah.
right. Since Frasier went on forever. Yeah.
Frasier, and not only went on forever, will rejoin us next year.
That's got to be bad though.
I
can't
we'll probably
imagine.
cover that one day.
We can.
The Frasier reboot.
Well, we've done a reboot before. We've done a reboot in an old boot.
Yeah. Who's going to stop us?
Your sister mentioned she came over recently.
Yes.
That she's rewatched the whole show. Of
The
Frasier,
entirety
right?
of Frasier. My sister, AKJ 519.
Just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. She's watched all of Frasier like last week or something.
I do think I did buy the DVDs. Probably in like late high school years. Not
Do they have like cases shaped like Frasier's head?
No, they
Niles'
didn't do the
head?
Simpsons
Yeah, like you
thing.
can fit that on a DVD show.
But I do think I got like 4 or 5 seasons and watched them all. But it's been so long. It's been like 15 plus years. So
I still hate that they made those Simpsons DVD cases into the heads because it doesn't work with them.
no, you can't display it. Well, you guys have any other thoughts? Or are we ready to talk about what we're doing next week?
Oh,
Ready is not the word.
I am moist with anticipation. It's hot. Okay, that's
And your vagina's
and my,
like gelled up with
Flowing.
some goo.
Yeah,
Goo.
is that what that is?
Yeah. I am the doctor of the group.
We bid farewell to our doctor, Dr. Fraser Quinn. No more Frasier, no more philosophy.
By the way, I should mention that we're still doing a little bit of Boob Tube Hot Potato here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, this is the first round,
Yeah.
isn't it? So I'll be going first. Spencer's picking for me now.
that's correct.
I will
Mhm.
then pick for Brian. Brian
And
will then pick for Spencer.
I don't believe in karma per se.
You will soon.
But what I did to Van and to all of us,
You keep doing this. You can be like, I did this to all of us. Whatever. You did this to
you hear it
me.
enough times, you might believe it. So if I keep saying it, perhaps you'll be like, "Oh,
It is true though. that
Brian, let's watch.
I didn't like it either. I had to watch it too.
Let's
Yeah.
watch Gilmore Girls." I like how that's the good show.
Not going to happen.
Speaking of which, before I tell you, Van, what I did pick for you, let me tell you a few I didn't that I wanted to.
Okay. I
And
like
one
that.
of
This is
these,
fun, yeah.
one of these is actually in that vein where I was like, I want to do this, but it's just we'd never be able
Too
to
much.
cover what already happened, and it's just not possible. So I'm not going to start with that one. I'm going to tell you my first choice, and then I had to rule it out because there's not enough episodes of it. But I wanted to thrust Charlie's Angels on you.
Oh, like the original?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen an episode of that.
I don't think I have,
either.
and I was so curious because it's got to be sexist as fuck.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
Because
it
it's 70s, I think,
70s, and they're three babes
Yeah.
who beat some ass. You know, I was.
That part sounds.
And they
cool.
take orders from a man though. He calls him and says, "Hey,
He's
get
in
in
a
there."
radio or
Get
whatever.
in, yeah, they don't even see him or whatever. And it's and they're his angels. That's got to be wrong. There's got to be something bad about it. But it's on Tubi, but they only have 5 episodes across like 3 seasons, and
Bizarre.
4 of them are 2-parters. So we would have had to have done like a part 1 and part 2, or one of like its own thing, the pilot, and then a part 1 or a part 2. It just wouldn't have worked.
We'll put it at the back of the list. Maybe
It's unfortunate that
someday
we couldn't do
she'll back
Charlie's
up.
Angels, but that was my first choice.
The truth is, Charlie's true angels are Brian and Mandy.
Oh,
Good for putting
I
that
think
in there.
we're at Angels because still alive.
I decided to completely do an about face here. This was going to be a much meaner choice, but I wanted to thrust something. I'm going to keep using that one.
We just thrust
I
it
wanted
away.
to thrust something British on you.
Okay.
Something dramatic. So I was going to go Downton Abbey. But those things
Okay.
are like 70 minutes, and there's like 8 seasons, and everything I read, every synopsis was like, you can clearly see you're supposed to know from previous times what this
the
means.
lines of plot that have
Yeah,
gone
it was like
through it.
someone's upset over what happened here, and it's like there's no way we could do that. So I gave up on that one real fast, but I would have enjoyed that a lot.
Either of you watched it?
No.
I haven't. Have you?
I have not. Katie, of course, has. From what I gather, it's just very much a British show, which I can handle British drama. British humor, I tend not to like.
British dramas I am addicted to.
They're pretty
Okay.
good.
I love, like, especially like a good British detective show.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, my dad loves British stuff, and he has seen Downton Abbey. There's a couple of British things I thought about. Another idea, I didn't do it, was the more recent Doctor Who. That was the next thought I had.
With the female doctor?
Well, I don't know who's the current Doctor Who.
I think she's still current, but she's done after this year. I don't know anything about that show. I just know that because that was a
The
controversy.
first one was like 2005 or whatever,
Oh,
when they
okay.
first came back, and
when
it was
Marlon Brando was Doctor Who.
Oh,
I forget what is Chris Eccleston or something, and then it was David Tennant for a little while, and yeah,
Who's a weird fucking dude.
Yeah. Speaking of which, British Spencer's seen this as well. David Tennant's in Broadchurch, which is a British murder mystery.
that's a good one too.
series. Yeah, it is good.
Yeah, there's some really good British stuff. In the end, I went a different direction. I decided that we're going to go in close to the era of Charlie's Angels, but it's kind of going to be related to when we talked about James Bond earlier. We're going to do some spy stuff.
Ooh, I
It's-
like
we
spy
haven't
stuff.
done any spy stuff, have
Yeah,
we?
and it's
think so.
and it's
In our
60s.
real lives
Columbo.
or covering TV shows.
Let me see how I can put this. It's like Tom Cruise, but the TV show.
Oh, Mission Impossible,
Yes.
huh?
I've
We're
also
doing-
never seen that, despite
I
being
haven't.
an ardent fan of the movies. I love them, and I don't like action movies like that very, very much, but they're really fun.
So have either one of you seen any of these?
A
no,
little.
only all 5 movies.
I didn't know. I thought there were more movies than that. Actually, it seems
I
like
don't
there
think
are.
so, yeah.
No, I think you're right.
It's only because they spread it out.
feels
like
and
there's
Tom
like
Cruise
12.
just always looks the same age, thanks to I don't know, him making sure that he gets rid of his thetans or whatever, and then like
No, I've seen a handful of episodes of the old show. And the reason I know that, I don't remember anything about them, is because in the first movie, the first Tom Cruise movie,
Tom Cruise is when a collection of crows form a Tom Cruise like shape when they're flying.
that'd be hot and short. No, so in the first Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, they kill all the characters from the show. He's based on the main character, but then all the side characters from the show just die. And it made me so angry because I was like, I liked this guy or that girl or
Yeah.
whatever. And they're all dead in like the first 5 minutes.
So you know some of the characters then. Do you,
I couldn't tell you now, but I will when I watch
Okay.
it and I'll recognize
Oh,
them.
cool. Okay. So, by the way, this is on Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime. Got a couple episodes picked out for you. We're going to do season 3, episode 12, The Exchange. And this is, while on a mission, Cinnamon is captured by a foreign government.
Oh no, my
Jim-
favorite stripper.
My favorite seasoning. I don't know. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Spice, I guess.
Spice, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a spice.
Jim and the others decide to mount their own mission without approval to free her, using another spy they've kidnapped as bait.
Ooh.
It's Agent Cody Banks.
And this one here sounds possibly even better to me. Season 6, episode 3, The Tram. And this synopsis is gold. It's like 60s spy. Actually, I think this one gets into 71. So these are late 60s, early 70s. So we might be in the 70s here, but it's just perfect for this genre, this time period. Organized crime bosses from across the country are meeting at a secluded mountain lodge to form an offshore company to launder their money. The IMF must work to turn the crooks against each other to get the number of the Swiss bank account before it's too late.
I like the idea that supervillains are all like, no, let's combine. Let's, use our resources and be buds.
Yeah, they're going in so they can make
the annual conference we have where we decide what sort of crimes we're going to commit.
Excellent decision.
I wonder
knew we could count on you, Time Finger.
I wonder if at this secluded mountain lodge there's going to be some confusion and lust that doesn't quite pan out right, and everyone's trying to fuck the wrong person.
Everybody wants Ethan Hunt. Is he in this?
He should be. I don't really know anything about the characters, but I'm assuming
that
Ethan
he's still
Hunt's
the main guy.
We'll find out. Yeah,
No,
is
he is the
Jeremy
main
Renner
guy.
in this?
Oh, man, I hope. No, you're right. Ethan Hunt is the guy. The name didn't click for me, but yes, that's the main
Okay,
character.
cool. Is
Okay.
Ving Rhames in this?
Yeah, he's in it. 1972.
He's a baby.
yeah. I think
He's still a
big.
badass.
I think the first episode's going to be in 68 and the next one's 71. So
Ooh, that'll be fun.
it'll mix it up a little bit. We haven't done an old show in a while.
Going back into the
And we
past.
haven't done spies like you guys said. So
Those
something
time
different.
capsule shows that are from a completely different era are fascinating.
Yeah, they're really
the
fun.
things we notice, like the phone usage in Colombo.
Oh, I love that stuff
the
too.
costumes, the parties, all that stuff. That'll be great.
Especially with spy gadgets because they're supposed to be all futuristic and
High-tech.
technological.
This is a pen. That
Yeah, I was just
it's
going to
got
say
ink
it's a
coming out of
pencil.
both sides.
Yeah, I'll be really looking forward to seeing how you tackle that, especially since you have seen a few. That's good.
This
I
is
had
a
no
door
idea.
that opens.
Look at this telephone and how short the cord is.
That is actually one of the Dr. No things is their door slides open
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that's supposed to be fancy and there's a shark in the wall or something.
And then, it's in its own little tank, isn't it? It's got
I
its
don't
own
know.
little habitat. And then pretty soon you hear about the Marino brothers. It's a whole thing.
And Blofeld. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't have anything else for you guys. So this has been a great time talking about Frasier. We're going to be talking about spies next time, so that'll give you guys something to look forward to. Any other thoughts before I tell all the fine listeners how to find us?
Well, just say thank you, listeners. The numbers look
Yeah,
great.
you guys rule.
We're getting more listens, and I hope that's because you're telling your friends. So keep doing so. And you can tell them to find us all over the place, as Spencer will detail.
You can also tell people you don't like.
Just scream it on the street.
Tell everybody. And like I said in the last episode, don't just listen to it, like it, and not tell anyone. That's weird. Don't keep it to yourself.
Yeah,
don't,
you fucking
don't
asshole.
keep us to yourself. So yes, I'm Spencer Hendricks. I am on Twitter at the number 3 French_hen. You can find Van Lee at Manly Van Lee, and you can find Brian Vaughn at Loud Guitar Brian. We are all on a joint Boob Tube Boys Twitter account. That's just Boob Tube Boys. You can find us at boobtubeboys.com. You can find us on Instagram and soon on YouTube.
There it is.
I'm just gonna keep plugging it.
Technically, reveal the man behind the curtain. We've got a few weeks before this
That's true.
episode comes out. Maybe the YouTube
Maybe
channel's
we will.
up.
Maybe
We'll
we
see.
will. And we have 2 people in the room who know how to do stuff with video.
I mean, I don't really anymore.
One of them's not me.
I used to.
But you know what? I would love it if we had a YouTube channel.
That'd be
I'd
fun.
like to contribute to it as a performer
That'd be really fun.
and writer.
We could
and
do anything.
maybe I'll learn how to use a camera. Who knows?
So thank you guys for listening, and we will.
Oh, do you guys hear that? It's the Blues, and they're asking for all of us. We gotta go.
I was still thanking him.
They're calling again.